Paul Roetzer is the founder and CEO of the Marketing AI Institute, co-author of Marketing Artificial Intelligence, and the host of the Artificial Intelligence Show podcast. He has spent his entire career helping Fortune 500 brands navigate massive technological shifts. And he's here with a brand new, highly updated keynote titled The State of AI, Agents and Augmented Marketer. Because let's be honest, AI is moving so fast right now that what worked 6 months ago is pretty much already obsolete. Paul is going to break down exactly how AI agents are changing the day-to-day reality for all of us modern marketers. So please give an unforgettable Think Summit welcome to the stage, Paul Roetzer.
Thank you, good morning. I always love getting introduced by Rich. This is my, I don't know, this is like my 5th or 6th Movable Inc. event, I think. We've done some incredible events together over the years, and I was here last year on the stage, so I recognize some of the faces in the crowd. Things have changed. If we were together last year in London or Chicago or New York or wherever we may have been together, we are truly going through an accelerated phase of AI. I empathize with all of you if it feels too fast. Trust me, I feel it daily. Even though I do this for a living, I still struggle at times to keep up with the change and the technological capabilities. And this talk, while I built the deck last week, is we're gonna have some real-time context in here because things have changed just in the last 72 hours. So to set the stage, if you're not familiar with artificial intelligence, beyond ChatGPT and Copilot and Gemini in the last few years of what's been happening, AI as a field of study actually goes back to the 1950s. So the premise was, back in the 1950s and then throughout the 70s, 80s, 90s, into the early 2000s, that we could eventually give machines, give software the ability to think, to create, to understand, to reason like humans do. But we went through what were called AI winters, where the promise of AI just didn't deliver and things slowed down. Now in the teens, so around 2011, 2012, there was some breakthroughs in what's called deep learning, where they realized that this might actually work, that we might truly be able to give machines the ability to think, create, and understand. That led to the ChatGPT moment in November 2022. So for most marketers, that was likely the first true engagement you had with an artificial intelligence system that could help you do your work as a marketer. And we entered this accelerated phase of AI advancement in the areas of language and vision, prediction, multimodalities like audio and video and coding. All of this led to the moment we find ourselves in today, where we are in truly accelerated technological progress. So the AI labs, OpenAI, Google, Anthropic would be the 3 primary labs, Meta, Microsoft, others. There's other players, but those are your 3 primaries. They all generally believe we are on a near-term path to what we would call AGI, or general intelligence. This is where the AI is able to do most of the cognitive work that a marketer or really any knowledge worker would do. I like to think of it as kind of the average human. So think about a team, think about your organization, think about what the kind of the median might do within that organization. Assume AI is on a near-term path to be able to do that. Then take the top 1 to 10% of the people on your team and assume that in the next 3 to 5 years, AI is going to reach a level where it can do that level of work across all cognitive tasks. This is something that we would call superintelligence. Until last year, this was still really viewed as more of a research initiative. It wasn't seen as something that was plausible. Everything changed last year. Meta renamed their lab the Superintelligence Lab. Everybody started talking like AGI was a given and superintelligence was the next frontier. So what we have to do as marketers, as business leaders, is we have to prepare ourselves for what is an exponential future. So I used to give this talk back in the early days. I started the AI Institute in 2016, so I've been doing public speaking on it for 10 years. And I used to try to explain this idea that the human mind is only capable of thinking in linear terms. So you're only really able to process what tomorrow might look like, or the next week, or the next year, based on what you know to be true. The human mind doesn't think in exponentials. It's really hard for us to process the idea that the tech we see today might get 10 times or 100 times more powerful. A really tangible way to think about this is what used to take 1,000 people or 10,000 people will be able to achieve with 100 people within organizations. Now, this is a beautiful concept if you're building a company from the ground up, because you can just build a more efficient, more profitable organization. The challenge a lot of legacy companies are going to face is that this starts to become a reality, and maybe they're already a 10,000 person company. And then what does that mean? There's no true known about what happens here, but this is the reality. I'm building a company right now that we think we can get to $1 billion with probably 100 to 200 people, because we just don't need as much people over time. And so that's what the technology enables, and then what that means to all of us, I'm going to talk about at the end, and the opportunity we have to have a positive outcome as a result of this. This is the way I kind of think about this. So large language models are basically what we all interface with ChatGPT and Copilot and others. Those continue to advance. They're getting smarter. They're getting more powerful. Multimodality is literally modalities. So language, images, video, audio, code, those would be modalities. The models keep getting better at producing those and understanding those. But the moment we're going to focus on today is agents, and the fact that they're becoming more reliable, more autonomous, and they're starting to be infused into the platforms that we all use, like Movable, and they're starting to be infused into the workflows that we do every day as marketers. This leads to the idea of AGI. The key thing for me with AGI, because there's a lot of debate about what exactly is it, how are we going to know when it's here, how are we going to define it and test it, I don't actually think it matters. And I've been talking about AGI for 10 years. It's actually kind of irrelevant. So the way I think about it is we could stop model progress today, and let's just assume ChatGPT 5.5 is it. That's like the smartest these things ever get. We are 5 to 10 years from that technology being diffused into corporations, like deeply diffused into the corporations. But they're not stopping. The labs are accelerating what is happening. So what I'm showing you is all the labs are making bets on what the next breakthroughs are going to be. How are they going to make the model smarter, more generally capable? What we see here is actually from last week, and don't worry about like the details and zooming in, it's just conceptually we're looking at. This is what are called evals, and this is Claude Mythos 5 and Fable 5. Did anyone have a chance to try Fable 5 before the government took it away from us on Friday night? Okay, a few of you. If you don't know what happened, listen to the podcast episode that dropped this morning. Basically, Fable 5 got released last Tuesday or Wednesday. The government sent a letter to Anthropic Friday night telling them to remove it from public availability. And they are in meetings in Washington today trying to resolve how to bring it back to market. But it was an extremely powerful model. So the stuff in green is the stuff that all the labs have been working on. They know that if they make progress on those areas, the models will get smarter. The stuff in yellow is where they're making the biggest bets. The one in particular I'll call your attention to is what's called recursive self-improvement. If you're not living in this world every day, that may be a really weird and unfamiliar term to you. It's going to become a very, very important term to society. What that means is the labs are trying to build an automated AI researcher that the AI itself will create the next model. So they will have the ability for the models to get smarter and rebuild themselves, which will accelerate the timeline and the capabilities of the technology. So I'll come back to that term in a second. The best way I've found to sort of explain the moment is to go through what OpenAI has publicly shared, not intentionally originally. This was originally leaked to Bloomberg last year around this time, and then they verified this was actually their stages internally. This is how they define it. So they look at chatbots as level 1. So chatbots, many of us were using forms of chatbots back in the teens, 2016, 17, 18. We had chatbots on our site that were what we would call deterministic, meaning you did a bunch of branching logic. You gave it a knowledge base and you tried to figure out all the questions someone might ask on your website, and then you would program it to answer those questions. They're now becoming probabilistic, where the AI, kind of like when you talk to ChatGPT, it can give a response that it wasn't necessarily trained to give. So chatbots started to get more intelligent. That led to what you really experience when you're working with Claude or ChatGPT or Copilot or Gemini, is more of an AI assistant. It's beyond just the basic chat capabilities. It's often connected to tools and knowledge bases, and that enables the assistants to do more things to work with us. So as an example, we have an AI Academy, and I teach courses within that academy. So I built what I called Ada, Artificial Intelligence Teaching Assistant. I did it through a Google Gem, so this is actually what it looks like in Gemini. And I literally just told it, like, you're an advisor, editor, and a thought partner. You're gonna help me plan, produce, and assess, and improve my courses and quizzes, whatever. And then I just work with it as a thought partner as I'm creating content to bounce things around, think about ideas, test what I've created. Another example is I created Co-CEO. And this is a custom GPT and ChatGPT. Now again, if you're new to this stuff, I have zero coding ability. Everything I'm showing you is just stuff I used words to create. It's like giving a strategic brief to an intern or associate, asking them to help you do something. So Co-CEO, I use all day, every day to just talk through things that I might not be an expert in and I want some other context. The chatbot age led to reasoning. This is September 2024 is the first time we got a reasoning model. It was called O1 from OpenAI. Now, why reasoning matters is because this is how humans think. We go through a chain of thought. We consider the context of our past experiences. We consider the ramifications of our actions and our decisions. And so what reasoning gave the models the ability to do, and the assistants that you work with the ability to do, is longer horizon tasks. Things that would normally take a marketer hours, days, weeks. Now you could start to see a path where these things would become more generally capable, more human-like. And so you experience this when you see like a thinking model. It would like walk you through, and I'll actually show you an example of this. This reasoning capability, back in fall of 2024, led to AI agents starting to get smarter and more reliable. And so the premise of an agent, if it's kind of like a new term or you're still trying to comprehend what exactly is it because everybody defines it in a different way, the way I think about this is assume you had a coworker who could plan and execute entire projects in minutes that would have normally taken days, weeks, whatever, eventually years. That is in essence what an agent is. It can take actions, but because of its reasoning capability, it can build a plan. So if you want to see this at work, just go into your favorite AI platform, this is Google Gemini, and choose deep research. What it does is you will see it now go through this reasoning process where it builds its own plan. It comes up with the steps it's going to go through, and then I say, okay, go do this research on the impact of AI on the advertising industry, and it goes to 100+ websites. It analyzes them, it curates the information, it summarizes it, comes back, it writes a 4,000-page report in 6 minutes that probably would have taken me 6 days. That's the example of an agent. It's at work, it has reasoning capabilities, it has access to tools like search and the internet. And so the characteristics of these agents, because it's not either is or isn't autonomous. Everything exists on these spectrums. And the two most important variables are autonomy, so how autonomous is it, and then how reliable is it? So a good parallel would be to think about autonomous vehicles, like full self-driving in a Tesla isn't really full self-driving because it's human supervised. The human has to be able to take the wheel. The human has to tell the car where to go. The human has to intervene if something goes wrong. And so you truly have a human in the loop within these systems. And so autonomy deals with the inputs. What data does it have access to? How much oversight am I providing as it's doing the work it's doing? How dependent upon me as a human is it? And then how is it improving based on what it learns or what I give it? So inherently, agents have limitations. That's actually a good thing for humans because it means we still matter in the equation. There's things it's just not good at and that it needs more guidance and support on. So like, it doesn't have common sense. It's not usually good at generalization. There are security and vulnerability things that you have to have IT involved. You have to make sure you understand what you're working with. And in the last couple months, the thing that everyone is talking about, at least at the executive level, is the cost of the tokens to power these agents. There's all these articles coming out like, oh, these companies got rid of humans and then they found out that AI is more expensive than the humans are because they have these crazy token bills. So a token, if you don't know that concept, is basically a unit of information. When you put words into ChatGPT, it actually looks at it as tokens. So on the technical side, those are tokens, like pieces of the word. And so it consumes tokens and it outputs tokens. and tokens are becoming a major spend for companies that at the start of 2026 wasn't even a consideration. But every major technology platform is racing to build and solve for agents. This is from Google Cloud Next. I was at their conference in April, and they introduced a new agentic platform that builds, scales, governs, and optimizes. If you're in Microsoft, you can go in Copilot Studio. You can look at existing agents like their analyst and writing coach and learning coach, or you can create your own agents. You can go use something like Lovable or Replit, and people with no coding ability can all of a sudden build apps and tools on the fly. OpenClaw got really popular at the end of last year and early this year. It's a little more technical. This is why Mac Minis you can't find Mac Minis anywhere. Is people are just buying up Mac Minis and like running these things. It's basically a 24/7 personal assistant. And then just in April, we had Anthropic launched new agentic capabilities baked right within Claude. The same week, because this is how these labs work, OpenAI introduces agentic capabilities right within ChatGPT. Again, zero coding ability is needed. You can now just go into a library of agents and start creating them, or you can just put a prompt in. I would like an agent that does this. I want it to connect to Slack. I want it to enable these different skills. And so you can go in and like, this is an example of a template agent they have called a marketing strategy agent. You just give it skills, you give it knowledge base, you tell it what it's going to do, and it just builds itself. This is what is possible today. You're going to see from Adam and Brian after I leave the stage how Movable Inc. is bringing these kinds of capabilities right in to the Movable Inc. platform. And so this is going to start to change the way we work. The way this is measured, the way they think about agentic process is on two fundamental variables. How long would it take a human expert to do the work? And then how reliable is it at doing it? What we know, based on Meter Research, as the organization, it's doubling in length of capabilities to do a human task every 7 months. So if you look here, you see GPT 3.5 was 36 seconds of human tasks. We are at Claude Mythos Preview, which is 16 hours. And that's in like a 3-year span. Now, they're mainly tracking AI development and research, but this same premise will apply to all knowledge work. This is Jason Lemkin, is the founder of SaaStr, and he brought out a really important point. He's saying, don't assume these agents just solve everything. Humans have to be in the loop. He said it took us 47 iterations to stop one of our AI SDRs from being too aggressive on pricing. Not 3, not 10, 47. The companies failing with AI agents are the ones who expected 2 iterations. The ones winning expected 50. Our jobs are changing. We are now becoming orchestrators of agents. We're becoming architects of the work that they will do. And Anthropic just last week in a paper about recursive self-improvement, the term I mentioned earlier, said their internal research says it's actually doubling every 4 months, not every 7 months. So when I said things are accelerating, they truly are. So the question becomes, just as the theme of this conference says, marketer and machine, what is the machine going to do? And what is the human going to do? This is the fundamental question. So when you start to look at the tasks you do, the workflows you run, the projects you own, you start to look and say, how much of this is the machine or the AI agent or a swarm of AI agents going to do now? And how much is it going to be capable of doing 12 months, 18 months from now? Because we're all in the next few months going to be entering 2027 planning. We have to be thinking about what does this mean to our teams? What does it mean to our budgets? One key thing, because we want to stress the human element in all of this, I'm a writer by trade. I came out of journalism school. I rarely use AI to write anything. Writing to me is thinking. It's how I process ideas. It's how I really think deeply about something. So even though AI can get me to level 3 on like say a LinkedIn post, it's level 0. I don't even use it to edit it. Like my choice is to not let it do that thing because that is what I want to own as a human. So just because technologically AI can do something does not mean we have to give that up as humans and as teams. So what can we do? The term we like to push is this idea of being AI forward. AI first is fine. There are a lot of organizations that use AI first. My guidance to you would be if you are a leader and you are talking to a team or an organization, AI first implies the technology comes before the people. AI forward means we're teaching our people to do this in a responsible, human-centered way. We want efficiency, we want productivity, we want increased profitability, we want greater creativity and innovation, but we want to do it to benefit our people. And so when we think about an organizational approach to AI, we want people, process, technology. We want to invest in our people to prepare them for the future of work through accelerating AI literacy. We want to think about efficiency and productivity. That's a given, but we have to invest in growth and innovation because that's what stabilizes and creates jobs. If we only do efficiency and productivity, we will need fewer humans. That is a fact. You can debate it all you want, but that is a fact. I'm seeing it every day. Think about people first. Think about how we have a mindset to be forward, both individually and as an organization, because the people who get this, who invest in this, despite your fears and anxieties, which I totally get, you can't sit on the sidelines, though. You have to be at the frontiers of this and be figuring this out. It's going to give you superpowers. You're going to be able to outperform your peers. Trust me, if there's people in the room who are deep into this, you're seeing it. You're looking around your own team thinking, I'm doing 5x the work of those people who aren't doing what I'm doing with AI. So it starts to change the dynamics of everything. These people are going to be more creative and innovative. Thereby, they're going to become the catalyst for growth in their company. Higher value, higher earning power, greater chance to thrive through the uncertainty. And the final thing I'll tell you is, individually and as organizations, we have to commit to this idea of innovation and growth. So optimization is doing existing things better, faster, cheaper. It's important, it matters. But innovation is creating new forms of value, new growth opportunities. So optimization is 10% thinking. We all need it. There is 10 to 20% efficiency gains literally across every workflow, every team right now. But innovation is 10x thinking, and that's where you need to live. You need to be thinking about your career, your company, your department on the frontiers of what AI is making possible. Because things that previously we couldn't do, that were unthinkable, are now going to be doable. And so think about where AI is going, not just where it is today, and use that to unlock human potential for yourself and for your team. Because we can make the future more intelligent, but we can also make it more human. But we're going to have to be proactive about doing it. Thank you.